stay right here. Oh, I'm not here, say, I'm not here for bless. Oh, no. Yeah. Jesus, you don't. You gave it all already. Woo. More than anything that you tonight. I just. I'm sorry, I'm sorry when I've gone right. I'm sorry when I sing another song. Take me back to where we started. I open up my heart to you. Oh yeah. I'm sorry. I'm sorry when I've come with my take me back, oh baby. Just one more time. And I just want. All I want, I just want you. Nothing else. Oh yeah. Nothing else. Nothing else to do. I just want you. Nothing else. Nothing. Nothing else to do. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Real Life Conversations. That's right. We changed the name of our talk show from Life Lessons to Real Life Conversations. And so I'm asking that you all would remember that so that you'll know that this is where you should be every Tuesday at 7:13, where we're talking about real conversations. Tonight, we're talking about the virtual classroom, talking about education during this time, during pandemic, the struggles, the stress. We're talking about different ways of helping our children be successful, even though they may not be able to go into the classroom. But before we get started, we have a special going on tonight. We're giving away a special prize. But in order to get the prize or be entered in for the prize, you must share this video and share it with this hashtag, We Set the Standard. And when you share it with We Set the Standard, my team is watching, they're counting, they're getting the names, and later on tonight, they will draw a name and we will present that person with this special gift. I promise you this gift will help you during this school year. And so we want to get started with our panel. Before we start, I want everybody to just know who we have on the panel tonight. And so I'm going to go through, allow them to introduce themselves, and then we're going to get started in this in this conversation. So we'll start with Heather. Heather, if you would please introduce yourself to the audience.
Good evening. I'm Heather Perkins. I'm currently an instructional coach with an educational service company called Catapult Learning. We partner with school districts like HISD, Sci-Fair, and A-Leaf to provide intervention services, small group intervention for students. Before that, I was on the campus as an administrator and a teacher in a couple different districts. So we have experienced this virtual world in the last couple months. So excited to be here and just collaborate with you guys and share some information on how to make it through.
Okay, awesome. Next is Ms. Victoria. If you would, please introduce yourself.
Good evening, everyone. Yes, I am Victoria Gordon. I've been teaching for primary levels for about 6 years now. And I like to be some support for parents that are teaching kids that are in the primary age group. I know it gets very frustrating and overwhelming when you're trying to teach a 7-year-old how to use or how to do whatever they need to do during their virtual experience. So I guess I'm definitely here for that type of support.
Okay. And we'll move on to Mr. Michael Woods. Can you hear me? I don't think he can hear me. Okay, we'll come back to Mr. Michael and we will talk to Mr. Matthew. Mr. Matthew, can you introduce yourself to the people tonight, sir?
Good evening, everyone. First, just want to say thank you for the opportunity.
I'm doing well.
Yes, I can hear you all.
Like
I just wanted to say thank you for the opportunity.
My name is Matthew Bridges, and I'm a behavior consultant for school districts, and also contract with other agencies as far as a family coach. And I've been doing behavior consulting and family coaching primarily in the special needs arena for 27 years. And I founded and own a camp called Camp Marcel, primarily for individuals with autism and other special needs, Down syndrome, ADHD. It's a camp that focuses on social skills and recreation.
Okay. And Miss Monique, if you would please introduce yourself to everyone.
All right. Good evening. My name is Monique Boone. I am a school administrator and a parent. I have 16 years of experience working with students from elementary all the way through secondary schooling. And I've done everything from teaching a classroom. I was an instructional technology specialist, did trainings for the district. Now I work for a school on the east end of Houston and Houston ISD as an administrator.
Okay, awesome. Look, we lost Mr. Michael, but once he comes back in, we will allow him to introduce himself. Once again, if you are, we're losing everybody. Once again, if you want to win the prize tonight, we ask that you would share this video and hashtag it, We Set the Standard. Also, if you have questions, feel free to ask your questions in the comment section, and we will definitely try our best to answer those questions. And so I want to open up with the question to everyone that's on tonight. And this question is a question that I'm actually interested in hearing from each of you. How do you feel about virtual learning in this time? What are your thoughts on the virtual learning experience as a teacher? Whoever wants to go first, it doesn't matter.
I guess I can start. It is an interesting time, especially for parents or teachers, especially that have not had the experience working in a virtual setting. So a lot of our students, depending on where they're from, I work in the inner city. And so a lot of our students, we did not have enough technology during the school year for students. And so that was a learning curve for both the students and the teachers. So imagine being a teacher and a parent in this time, and you haven't had the tools to learn how to use these things. And so it can be a very, very frustrating time. And a lot of schools had not prepared teachers or students, and so you just kind of threw them in. And so parents got a lot at one time, and especially if you have more than one student or child. I have 3 kids, and they range from one was in kinder, one is in third, one is in 6th grade. And so if you have students or kids that are in that range, you know that they all need very different things. And so each teacher or each cluster of teachers were given a lot of stuff. And so we always felt overwhelmed with trying to make sure we did it all. And on top of that, being a working parent as well, it was very frustrating. And I have the tools to teach my own kids, right? I have the tools to help them navigate because I was a technology specialist. So my heart just goes out to parents and teachers who did not have that skill set with them already.
Okay. Before we continue, Mr. Michael is back. I would like for him to introduce himself to everyone so they'll know who they're talking to tonight.
Yes, hopefully, can you all hear me now?
We can hear you. Uh-oh. Like he's having some difficulties.
Hello, can everyone hear me?
We can hear you.
If you all hear me, it seems that I'm getting a lot of delays, but if you all can hear me, my name is Michael Woods. I am entering my 9th year in education. I am a teacher, coach, and admin assistant. So I serve a lot of different roles on my campus. Currently in the Carrollton district and in Dallas-Fort Worth area, and look forward to just learning with you all and answering any questions that you may have.
Okay, awesome. And so we'll continue with our question starting out tonight is how do you feel about virtual learning? Whoever wants to jump in on that. We heard from Miss Monique.
I'll go ahead and go. As an educator, we are basically challenged to roll with the punches at whatever cost it is. And what made the virtual learning challenging is that we want to succeed in everything that we do because we have to educate ourselves, educate our students, and educate our parents. And we were having to do all three in a matter of days. So it was very, very stressful. But I would say with my team, we rocked it. Like we were so supportive because we were all going through this together. And once we understood that together and we advocated for our parents and for our students, it made virtual learning a lot easier because we were all on the same page. And I would definitely say communication with everybody would be the number was not one of our struggles. We knew what we were talking about. We knew how to communicate with our parents. And our parents were actually one of our support systems. So I will say it was very challenging, but we were able to create a system that worked well for our first graders.
Okay. Okay. Anybody else want to chime in on this virtual learning? Come on.
Well, I
I'll
will
add
say
in.
that for me, I don't deal directly with the academic piece of it. I do more of the behavior end, and for me, I think it's something that one, the parents are really trying very hard. I think the educators are trying very hard as well. So I think the collaboration with time is definitely going to improve tremendously. But for the time being, especially the spring semester and going through the summer, is that and far as what I do dealing with the behavior, I think that is something that some definitely difficult if you have a child that displays frequent behavior or has a lot of opposition to wanting to do schoolwork or wanting to do classroom work and be in a virtual classroom. So as far as my position, I think that the things that I've done has been very beneficial as far as being able to help develop strategies and techniques that the parents can use as far as being able to be successful with what they're doing. And the things that I do is online as well. So it gives me like an hour to sit there with the parents and work through best practices. It may be something because it's going to involve the whole family. Everybody's involved when it's at the house. It's dad when he come home from work. It's mom. It's everybody. Or if with the quarantine going on, everybody's at the house. So it makes it a lot of time very difficult for them to focus and concentrate on maybe sitting at a time and doing schoolwork. So with that, I've been able to help, and they have been able to actually work with some of those things that have helped the kids be a little bit more in tune with the virtual learning.
Okay. Okay. Ms. Heather?
One thing my team learned, and our job was to support the teachers, and then occasionally I would jump in and teach a few classes myself, was just to allow everyone a lot of grace and flexibility, because things were ever changing, still is today. I just got an email that a district has decided to do something different and push back their date. or are for the private schools, they're deciding each on their own which way they would like to go with a hybrid, or if they're going to do a rolling start. So we kept the mindset quickly, adopted the mindset of adjusting and learning as we go and supporting teachers with that, but also relaying that partnership to our parents that we don't have all the answers. You know, we learned a little bit in the spring. We did another program in the summer. We learned a little bit more, but now going into the fall, we're still going to be learning, so that it's new, and we just have to allow everyone grace and flexibility to support the students, knowing that there's a learning curve and it's ever changing. It's a moving target. So, just creating that mindset was a big part of starting off the work before we even entered that world, and important as we continue it.
Okay, awesome. Mr. Michael, what is your view on the virtual learning?
The virtual learning, coming from the spring semester, at my campus, my department, which is science, we were ahead of the learning curve because a lot of the things that we were doing was already technology based, and we were using systems such as Canvas already. So those students were already supported and they knew how to access things. But some of the struggles we ran into at my campus is the high lack of support at home and or the lack of technology at home. So some of the things that we had to do was just definitely be support systems for parents and teach them other systems that were more compatible with mobile technology, such as Google Classroom. And so no longer were we just supporting the students, but we were also teaching parents how to access technology, how to best practices to service their students at home, and to just ensure that what the students were saying as far as submitting assignments and or participating in class was actually accurate. So I think just looking forward in the fall is just continuing the open line of communication with everyone involved, as well as just making sure that we as educators are teaching parents on things to kind of be mindful of, and making sure that the parents have access to all different types of technology as their students are having. So if they're in a Google Classroom, making sure that the parents are also inside the Google Classroom, that they can see the same thing that their students are seeing. So student is not saying, hey, I turned in this assignment and then actually did not turn in the assignment. So I think just kind of going forward, we definitely need to be communicative with parents as well as every guardian that's involved.
Okay, awesome. So I heard some terms. I heard hybrid. I heard rolling date. Can you help us? Because as a parent, I don't know what this stuff means. I read it in the emails. You know, what is happening if they say it's hybrid, or if they say it's a rolling date, or you know, how does this stuff? How's it determined? What is this all about?
I will say one, that school districts are kind of building the plane in the air. And so it can be very confusing and frustrating for parents, because as a parent, I need to know, do I buy school supplies and school uniforms, or do I buy another Chromebook? Like, that is what we need to know as a parent. However, all the way up from teachers, all the way through the superintendent, we don't know. And so when we get the news from the governor and from the mayor and from the commissioner of education and from the president and all of this, then districts have to go and scramble and come up with another plan. And so as we were planning as an administrator, we have been planning throughout the summer, what does our comeback look like, either virtually or in person? And every time we get a plan that could possibly work, we have to change it. So when you hear mention of a rolling date, that just means they're still deciding, okay, we're going to start on this date. Okay, maybe not. Okay, we're going to start virtually on this day. And then in a couple of weeks, we'll see how this pandemic is going. Then we'll do in person. And so a lot of it is just, we don't know. And so just offering grace to the school districts, the superintendents, because it'll seem like, well, why don't they just make a decision? is because they can't, right? Everything is tied to money, which is tied to politics, unfortunately. And so we have to really just be ready for whatever comes. And I know a lot of things will be lax. Like if you had school uniforms, you might not have to have school uniforms. I know a lot of districts are paying for school supplies because parents need time to prepare, and we can't because we still trying to figure out how to feed our kids during this pandemic, right? So that's what the rolling dates are. And then the hybrid model means that students will have the option to either go in face to face or to stay at home and do virtual learning or to do a little bit of both. I know in secondary, they're looking at doing models where it's an A day, B day. So some kids come on A days, other kids go on B days. And so when they make mention of the hybrid models, that's what they mean, taking the in-person and virtual and meshing it together for a plan that we hope will work, because we know kids not being in school does not work for a lot of families. It doesn't work for middle class families that work all the time. It does not work for when you talk about low socioeconomically disadvantaged families. It doesn't work. However, that does not work either. So it's kind of a no-win.
Okay. Okay. So I have some other questions. Look like we have one. I have another question here. When we talk about parenting, is there any advice that can be given as a teacher and a parent? Now, my wife, I know she experienced having to virtually teach, but the advantage that we had was in that time I was working at night. So what happened with when the pandemic hit, my job forced me to work at night. So during the day, I'm attending to the kids and she's teaching. And so, but what about a parent that does not, a teacher that's a parent that does not have that advantage? Can anybody give me some advice or give that person some advice on how they can make it through this?
So I can speak to some of the teachers that I worked with, both in the spring and the summer. And some of them were working with high school students and had their own students that were home for the summer. A few of my teachers had, 2, 3, 4 kids, different grade levels, requiring technology for the spring, for the summer. And some of the things that worked really well for them was having a structured space for them separate from their teaching. And they had to get really creative on what that looked like, because depending on if you're in an apartment or a house or how many devices you have to be able to use, that might look different in every family. But separating the two spaces that you work in, so that way when you're talking, there's not background noise distracting your student, or vice versa, distracting your instruction, if possible, depending on the age. For younger kids, then we had 3-year-olds sitting right next to their teachers. Or their parents while they were teaching, and they used headphones. And no matter what grade it was, most of my teachers said what was really essential is creating a schedule for your students to make sure that your kids have a schedule and that you practice that schedule and abide by it so they get into the routine. So if they haven't been on a schedule thus far, then they need to start one, because that's going to be really important, because that's what's missing from the school day is a schedule. And then, having snacks already out ready to go in little baskets in the kitchen so they know where to grab snacks. So teaching some independence and practicing and modeling some things. Here's where you go for your snack. Here's where you go for your lunch. A lot of organization to really make it work. And then again, still give yourself grace, because it's not going to be perfect. Somebody's going to have a meltdown. Somebody's going to need to go to timeout. Somebody's going to have a technology issue. So there are going to be lots of things to work with, but that schedule made my most successful teachers excellent teachers, and they made it through parenting as well.
Okay. Miss Monique, I heard you have 3 little ones. How did it go for you?
So it was a lot of trial and error and start over. So like Miss Perkins just said, we have snack baskets, right? Because kids will eat you out of house and home. So we do have snack baskets where I prep them at night or let the kids choose what they want for the next day. And it's like, these are your snacks. When you finish them, that's when you finish them. So if you finish them by 11 o'clock, then you don't have snacks for the rest of the day. So that's a definite must. And it is all about the organization. We had to adjust in that because even as an administrator, I was online all day. And so we would stay up and my kids would sleep most of the morning, which would give me the opportunity to be, limit interruptions. And then they knew how to come. So when you wake up, they knew exactly what to do. But we did stay up late at night. And that would be till 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning. However, they weren't not waking up until later on in the day. And that was just something, as a parent and growing up in certain homes, you don't sleep past 10 o'clock. You don't sleep past a certain time. So we just kind of had to push that to the side because it wasn't working, especially with my 6-year-old. Like, he doesn't understand. I'm in an interview, and so that kind of helped. I also put a piece of chart paper on the wall, made 3 columns with the kids' names on it, and we used Post-it notes. So at nighttime, we would look at what was needed to be done for the next day, even down to wash dishes, take a bath, do 60 minutes of YouTube dance videos, whatever it was, we put it on the Post-it notes, and then we would put them by their names. And then that way they were able to go and see, because your middle school kids, which I had to learn, and my 3rd grader will do what you tell them to do, and then they'll go and be in a room playing video games or on TikTok or whatever. So with the Post-it notes, they were able to go and see what they needed to do. So then as I'm taking a break or as I'm, finishing up a call, getting ready to hop on another one, I could pass by. It's in our main hallway. And I could say, hey, did you do such and such and such? And so we would do that every day, and we would take those Post-it notes and move them over to the done side, and then we would reuse them or add new ones. And my middle school son, I had him do a schedule in Google Calendar, and he every week at the beginning of the week, as soon as his assignments dropped, he would go in and do every single thing. They were color coded. He would add myself and his dad on, so that we were able to see. So no matter where he was, which house, with whoever, even if I had to run an errand and Granny had to come watch them, that he knew what he had to do. And that was just teaching him kind of like to be self-feeding, so that I can tend to the smaller ones more. But then I, on my phone, had the calendar. I could see exactly what needed to be done in order to get everything done. But it does boil down to being very strategic and start now. If your kids have gone from March all the way till now with no structure, it doesn't just happen, right? So even if we go face to face, it is going to be hard for the kid. It's going to be hard on the teachers. It's going to be hard on everyone around. And the thing we know about Black and brown kids specifically is that when they don't act the way we feel like they should act, we label them as a discipline problem. And some of that, especially when they're smaller, is a parent problem, because we need to make sure that they have a plan and they have a schedule and they know exactly what to do. And we had less meltdowns when we had a schedule and we adhered to it.
Okay. Ms. Matthews, I know you said earlier that you help parents with techniques, and you do that online. Where would a parent go to find some of these techniques or this assistance in as far as behavioral things with the children?
Of all, what the young lady shared is excellent. I mean, only thing that I would add to that is that all adults in the house need to be consistent with exactly what they explained, the schedules, the routines, and all that. Everybody's got to be consistent. And I do feel definitely, I mean, if it doesn't work, 1 week, then you got to keep going. You just don't quit. You don't give up. Because it will work. You got to believe in what you're doing, but things really, so I can't beat it. So I really, different things that you can do is according to what every family is going to look different, and the family have to understand what their needs are, and from there, you can search. It's all kinds of things online that they can look for. As if it's a behavior issue, then they can look at different behavior websites or different things, and it's out there. But I don't necessarily want to say one or two things because there's a number of things that are out there, and they just have to kind of look and find out what will work for them and what their issues are. Or maybe even talking to the administrators or talking to the teachers and different things like that as far as setting up the home classroom. One thing I do know that is very helpful with doing those schedules, like she mentioned, the Post-it notes, is also maybe getting something like a whiteboard, an erasable whiteboard that you can use. And if you need to, if something changed, you can change it. Or if you have a number of children, more than one child, you can list their activities. You can list the other child's activities, and everybody know pretty much the same strategy, but just a different way of doing it.
Okay. We have a couple questions from our audience. First question comes from Jay Kelly. She says, "What about parents who still work?"
I will chime in on that. My suggestion is to first figure out what is kind of the district mandate for its learning going, because each district is going to have their own set of rules and regulation on how they want to run their campus or their district. So in my district, right now, they're still kind of battling between having our online virtual learning asynchrony or synchrony learning. So asynchrony meaning what a lot of districts did in the spring term, where learning just occurred at the students' pace. They may have 10 assignments that had to be completed by a certain date, and just as they complete them as they were able to. But what a lot of districts are trying to do now for its accountability is synchronized learning, which means that students are going to have to be logged in at a certain time to these classes. And as far as at the secondary level, like if my first period starts at 9 o'clock, you have to be in my class at 9 o'clock, whether that's virtual or if we go back face to face. So my biggest suggestion for parents that are still working is, as Ms. Monique said, and just kind of having that schedule already in place to where students know that, okay, you may not physically be at a school building, but your schedule is still in place and you have first period at 9 o'clock. So that means I have to get up and be in routine. Whether it's I get up at 8 o'clock, eat breakfast, brush my teeth, wash my face, and start class. Because it will be accountability that goes to TEA, which is the governing body for educators. And if they're not in class, they will be truing at some point. So I think just kind of having that schedule and being consistent. If there's an older sibling in the house that can just kind of monitor alongside with their own educational needs, then so be it. But that's just kind of where it's at right now. If those are things that's not feasible, I don't really know what each district is going to do. But if you are working a day and can't really just monitor students' learning, I will definitely see if there's any options as far as the campus principal or district allowing for asynchrony learning where they can do it on their own time, where you are able to fully be there.
Okay. Second question. It's a special question for me. This is my wife, y'all. She says, how can parents help the kids that have special services accommodations, BIPs, IEPs? Oh, hold on.
So I can speak on that. So first, knowing what your student needs is one. So making sure that you are communicating a lot with the counselor from the school, with the whoever's over like the SPED department at your school, and then if you can talk to past teachers, because those teachers know how to get your student to do the work that they need to do. And so we have to remember, in this space, we are still living through a pandemic, right? So a lot of changes. There are lots of of things that we have to consider. And so focusing on what's important, like what are the most important things or aspects in learning that your student needs to focus on. And so first knowing your kid, knowing how they learn, and then bringing that to the home life. For example, my kids are very GT. And so we do home projects. My kids have learned how to cook. My daughter launched a business where she's actually making money, and my son is her CEO, right? Because she's bossy, but he's a CEO, so they are COO. So they are all working together. They have learned a lot about math. They've learned a lot about history. That we read together, but I want to emphasize together. You cannot tell your kid, okay, go in there and do your work, because they won't do it. So I know it's hard. We work, right? And so we're tired, and we it's a lot of things that are going on, but I have to take that learning personally. And so looking at those IEPs, those BIPs, looking at any modifications, accommodations that my students need, and just to the best of my ability. Don't stress yourself out. You can't do it all, especially if you didn't go to school to be able to decipher through all of this. Do the best you can. And so sometimes my best is helping my kids know at what temperature the water boils, so you can make some rice for dinner. Like, and that's okay, because that's math and that's science. And I'm okay with that. Even being an educator, I give myself a lot of grace, but I allow my students to learn in a way that's authentic. And that is my son, every month, he's like, did the electric bill come in? How much was it? Like, how many kilowatts did we use this month? And I don't know where that interest came, but he's interested. And so I let him see it. And so that has kind of become his project. Figure out what they're interested in and how they learn, and then grow from that.
Okay. Anybody else want to add?
I would like to add to that. In my classroom, it's very therapeutic and understanding, and I would want to tell our parents to be kinder to yourself. This is something that is incredibly hard across the board, and I know what it's like having that student that shuts down because they don't understand this word, or they can't sound, they completely shut down. And I've had to encourage my parents to breathe. You know, our students feel when we have anxiety, or when they feel that we were upset about something, and I would have, like, it's called my calming center. You know, take a few minutes, just take a break, step away, get your thoughts together so we can work together as a team, because Ms. Gordon can't help you if you're going to shut down on me. Then also we will use positive words of affirmation. I can do this. I am important. I am strong. And I remember specifically having a parent that called me crying because she just did not understand how to reach her son. And as I told her, your son likes to be encouraged. He likes for you to sit down with him, to really encourage him that he can do the work. And as soon as she was able to understand that aspect of him, he started to succeed at home, and she had less behavior problems. And also, like with leadership roles inside the house, incentives for those that do have IEPs or BIPs, that, well, if you're going to do this, let's try to create this incentive for you so we can move forward in this area, or make it fun and exciting. But yeah, I would definitely want to encourage the parents to be kinder to themselves, and to just to do a lot of deep breathing.
Okay. We're going to take a quick
May I
break.
add something?
Yes.
Oh, go ahead. I'll be brief. I was just going to say 2 questions to really ask about the IEP, the BIP, any of your special education services. Since you're virtually, really make sure you ask, what does that look like? Or is there another way that he or she can do that? You're going to need to rely on your counselor, your teacher, your case manager who's working with you for SPED to explain what that looks like. What does reduced questions look like? What does extra time look like? That way they can give you a concrete example And then you can then go from there. And then if your student is still struggling, just say, it's okay, sweetheart. What's another way that you can do that works for you? Because at the end of the day, we just want them to work and grow. So, but it really do ask, what do those things look like? There's a bunch of words on a paper, but for you as a parent, you need to know what that looks like.
Okay. Okay. I want to take a brief break. We have another panelist. She's having technical difficulties. She's here, and I want her to briefly introduce herself and what she does so that she can join in this conversation.
Hey everybody, my name is Jacorlin Stans Harper, and I am currently in the role as a special education paraprofessional. I do in-class support with special education students. I have been in education for about 8 years. This will be my 8th year in education. Oh Lord, can y'all still see me?
We can see you.
Whew, I'm sorry, my computer is acting up. So this will be my 8th year in education, and I am currently working with grade levels K through 5. My background education is I have a BA in psychology, and I am currently studying for my teacher certification to be a full-on interventionist, okay, for special education as well.
Okay, cool. So now that you're on, I have a question. This is another question here. It says, this question is how to handle teaching when you have a child that usually, I'm sorry, that's the wrong question. No, we just finished that. The question I want is, how do you suggest parents keep their children engaged while learning? Or is this the teacher's job? Now, I know that's been a back and forth, virtual and in the classroom. So what do we say about that?
Is this for anybody?
Anybody.
Okay.
Well, I'll
Go ahead.
I am a science teacher, and I try to make everything hands-on, whether it was getting water from your cupboard and mixing it with soil or salt, something for them to be tangible so they can make observations. Just with anything that I tried to do, I wanted it to be engaging so they can remember the material. And we would send pre-recordings for the parents and PowerPoints. You would need these materials for Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday for our science experiment. And the parents loved it. Like, we did so many things to keep these babies engaged. So I think that comes from planning ahead and making sure that the parents know what they need at the beginning so they can have all those materials ready and structured so everyone can be all on the same page. So.
Okay. Anybody else want to add to that?
I will add to that. One thing I would say is with it being virtual, I feel like there's a lot more time on students' hands. So the lessons that in class may actually take of the full 49 minutes of the class or hour of class, however long the block is, may not take that at home. So one thing that find ways as a parent to find extra learning opportunities around the same topic that they're already learning. As Ms. Gordon, I'm a science teacher as well. So if that means doing extra STEM activities, such as having them build something, that serves them very well. And it just kind of keeps them engaged in the learning process. And it allows them to kind of paint real life situations onto what they're actually learning. So just finding extra activities around the house that can kind of keep them engaged.
Okay. I just had a question come in through text. It says, what about techniques that could help parents that have learning incapabilities? What could they do, or what are techniques that they could do to help their children?
So this is a great question because, parents, if you're not in education, you don't know how to do 5th grade math. If you don't teach 5th grade, you don't know how to do 5th grade math. And I literally had to sit in the classes, the 4th grade and 5th grade classes, to learn how to do this stuff, which helped me teach my kids. But if I was just a parent, I wouldn't know. And if you are a parent who like this isn't your thing, then a couple of things you can do. And the first one is communicate with the school. Like if that is a need for you, that is a need for other parents as well. So asking for a teacher to give you assistance. So, hey, I know that you guys are doing probability, and I'm trying to explain this to Timothy, and he doesn't know. Can you help me so that I can help him? And hop on a Zoom, hop on a Teams, or whatever outlet that the schools are using. Hop on with them and get a 15 or 20-minute tutorial so that you know how to do those things. I know that my school, we're offering those because a lot of our parents are Spanish speakers. And so they, are going to struggle with the English instruction. And we're going to offer tutorial sessions, and that might need to be something that needs to be advocated for parents, because schools are trying to do everything they can to help students. And in that, a lot of schools are having the conversations about helping parents. And so there might be something that's already ongoing. You just have to communicate with the school. Like, I don't care if you feel like you're getting on their nerves. Like, I would rather get on the nerves of the teachers and the principals and the support staff, and my kid is successful, than to say, oh, I don't want to bother them. No, I'm gonna bother you in this pandemic. I'm gonna do my part, but my part is going to be making sure I communicate with the school.
Okay. So, anybody else want to go with that or give some?
Yeah.
Okay.
I kind of had something to add, Pastor Marcus. Another good thing that we ran across in the summer, because we were trying to figure out how to make summer different than the regular school year, because kids were burned out that did virtual, or they were not even into being engaged in school because they didn't have any instruction at all. So summer had to be fun. So my teachers and I did a resource dive for some online interactive activities and games. And there's a lot out there that, to where if the teacher says it's probability, going off of Miss Monique's topic, or if it's addition, subtraction, whatever it is, problem solving, there are online resources where you can go in, pick 4th grade math, put in fractions, and there'll be activities and games for your child to engage in without you needing to know anything that will lead and guide you. And so I submitted that to one of the members of your team, just lots of ideas from websites like Bamboozle, Brain Pop, Common Lit. There are a lot of them for reading and for math and for all ages. So that's something a parent can do without fully learning, because you may not have time to do that. And then to our other point earlier, just set them up for success. So make sure that there's a room that's without distraction. Make sure that they're on a sleep schedule, going into sleep at night. Summer is over, starting like now, because they've been out for so long, they need to get back on a routine. So if they're sleepy, they can't be engaged. Reward them, thank them, give them kudos for doing a good job. And then the rest is on me as a teacher to engage them, make it fun, make it active, make it relevant. But those would be some things that parents can seek. There's online websites, so use those to help you.
Okay. I have another question from the audience. It says, what can educators do to help them when becoming frustrated due to learning so many new materials and skills in such a short time? I'll leave that up so y'all can read it. Y'all can.
So I just chime in real quickly, is as an educator, we have to know what to bring to students and parents. So I know that everyone has lots of tips, but in this pandemic, we just need the strategies and the skills that will help push a student forward in the real world. I don't know if I'm saying that in a way that make people understand. I feel like all TEKS are important, right? However, in this space, and my content area is ELA, so I'll just speak on that. And I want kids to read, I want kids to write, I want kids to improve vocabulary. That's it. Like in a school setting, it's so much more. But in this space, presenting that opportunity in an experience where they are reading, they are writing, they are collaborating with each other, and they are learning grammar. And that's it. So paying attention to what is important and not overloading them with parents and students with things that will just really work in an in-person setting. And so real world to me is key. If you can't apply directly in the real world, just in this virtual setting, then it's too much.
Mhm.
Okay.
Can I say
Yes.
something? Just to kind of piggyback off of Monique, coming from a SPED perspective, just not bombarding parents with so much information, with so many different worksheets, just so many different things. Because for one thing, SPED parents also deal with they're dealing with general education as well as SPED. So they're getting information from both ends. So it's really important to just not overload during this time.
Okay. Don't overload. Help me, please. Anybody else want to chime in?
Can I see the question one more time?
Yes, ma'am. Says, what can educators do to help them when becoming frustrated due to learning so many new materials and skills in such a short time?
Okay. Oh, okay. Yeah, I agree with what at first I was thinking helping educators, them as in the educators themselves or the families.
The families, I believe.
Okay. Yes, I agree with what they were saying, but as an educator's point of view, it was very considerably overwhelming. I remember sleeping maybe 3 hours a night just because I needed to find some type of material, create a script. We honestly did not know what we were doing. Like I woke up at 3 o'clock in the morning because I could not sleep. So I wanted to create a script for my parents on this TEK that we were supposed to be doing, going over after spring break, and what questions the students might ask or what ways you can break these things down. Of course, that end up changing. But as for frustration in material and learning new things as an educator, I would just definitely seeking the support from our instructional staff, from parents, seeking the support from your teachers. We're all in this together. I had parents venting to me and I was venting to them, and we were a great support system, oddly enough. But yeah, just definitely keeping that line of communication open.
Okay.
And I'm just going to add one more thing as a parent to my educators. All these clicks and all these websites, just cut it out. And it's too much. And I know, like, as an educator, we want, okay, all these, it's lots of cool things, but it's as a parent to educators, it's too much. And if you have multiple kids and every kid has 5 different things they have to log into and go to, like it becomes a hassle, and it's very frustrating for parents and it's frustrating for students. And even if you work in the same school, my elementary kids go to the same school, but what the kindergarten kids were doing and what the 3rd grade kids were doing, it was totally different. And then when they get to middle school and they have 6 or 7 teachers, and each of those teachers have 5 or 6 websites they want the kids to go to, is too much. So using things like Seesaw, using things like I think Class Dojo, where it's just a one-stop shop, is going to be key. And so if you're an educator, if you are an administrator and you're listening to me, uniform those clicks, because it's too much and it's overwhelming.
As a parent, I totally agree with the clicks.
Provide feedback with that one. I know for us, we felt the exact same way. That was just it's teaching a 1st grader how to maneuver through all these different clicks was overwhelming in itself. So I think as a team, we came up with one structure. Like I think ours was Pearson Realize. So it was interactive. It was one place for them to do all of their math, science, social, everything was in one area. And everyone had one login information. So we collectively had to figure out whose account were we going to use. So these babies can have one username, one login information, bam, done, like that's it. Because we wanted to make it easier for the parents. And we created our own schedule with each teacher's login information for Zoom, what time we're going to do story time, and the kids would follow that schedule. And that was something that the parents were really appreciated of. And then we would have weekly parent meetings just to see, how are you guys doing? What do we need to do to fix some areas? What's going to be easiest? What's talk to us, because we definitely, even though we're stressed out severely, but we definitely want to make it easier for those parents that had multiple children in different grade levels. So no, I definitely agree with you, Monique, that it is very overwhelming to have so many clicks and to not be frustrated with the student and the teacher. I'm like, why do we need all this? I don't understand this. So yeah, I agree with you.
Okay. Well, guys, we are approaching our hour. And what I like to do at the end of the show is I like to allow each panelist to just share something with the parents. We're going into a new school year. We're getting ready to do this thing all over again. What is one thing that you would share with the parents or educators that are on to encourage them about making it through it this year?
One thing I'll say going in is definitely just know that you're not alone. This is a pandemic that each individual. But my suggestion, I've told parents this, and I'm telling this from a father standpoint, not from a teacher standpoint, but trust God in this process and put your family first, because education is great and we only can do so much with it. But if we're not here to use it and we're not safe and in good health, then what we do in the classroom does not matter. From a teacher standpoint, to parents, just my suggestion is, again, take it easy, ask those questions that need to be asked. Do not be afraid to being rejected from the teacher, because us as educators should be very open and honest with you and what's going on in this day and hour, as far as what we know.
I would say my one thing is for both parents and educators is to be patient with one another, to understand that there are a lot of moving parts this year. It's a lot of unknown still going on with different districts. So just being patient with one another, keeping that line of communication open and clear, so that both parties understand what is going on, and just make sure that you're aware of everything that is going on.
Okay.
I will say that we have the unique opportunity, something that our parents didn't have, is to take control of our kids, take that back, because they have so many outside influences and so many things that are tugging and pulling at them day to day. They are spending so much time at school. We're spending so much time at work. When we come together at home, we're tired. You have the unique opportunity to really, really invest in your kids. Show them how to love each other. Show them how to work together as a family unit. Show them how important their religion is. Show them how important it is to apply what they've learned or what they're learning to real world situations. Eat with your kids. Do projects with them. Even if you are a little tired, but make time to really, really show them how important the family unit is. And we have time to do that during this pandemic, so we should take advantage of that.
Before the next question goes, we do have one quick question that came in. We can ask, I think we covered, we can review it. Just real quick. It says, for those of you that are parents and educators, how did you balance your work time and the time for your children?
Got to cut it off. You got to cut off work. When my kids are coming in my workspace every 5 and 10 minutes, I have to say, that's it. Whatever doesn't get done. And so setting those timelines, like I work from this time to this time, and that is it. It's hard, but that has to be a hard, I got to stop, because work will consume you. And so just be okay with that, and knowing when to cut that off and say, I need to spend time with my kids. I need to sit down and watch TV with them, or eat dinner, or cook, or whatever it is. But you just got to discipline yourself to say, my work is important, but my family is more important. because we can't get this time back. We can't get 6. I can't get 6 back once my kid is 7. I can't get this middle school time back with my son. And so I have to remember that in 10 years, when I look back on this time, what do I want them to remember? Me working, being a workhorse, or me being a mom that they really enjoy spending time with?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Back to our encouragement. Anybody else want to share with the parents and the educators before we go?
Yes, I would say. Go ahead, Victoria.
I would say having that spiritual support system. You know, as educators, you just don't know what this teacher, this child, what we're going through, but just to pray on it and just to be supportive and be kinder to yourself. It's harder as an educator to say, yeah, I'm going to be kind and more supportive, but yeah, I'm stressed out over what this child needs and what. But I would just definitely say, get your team to, when you have your team, when you know which team you're working on, figure out what's your strength and your weaknesses. Who's better at communicating with the parents? Let's rise up together and let's encourage each other together. That's would be my biggest thing, is just be really, really supportive of one another and understand your strengths and weaknesses.
Okay. Anybody else?
I would say really focus. Yes, I would say focus on what you can do and let that be what drives your work at home and virtual, in the virtual world. Be prepared to pivot back and forth, face-to-face, online. Be prepared to pivot through changes, because they're going to occur just because of the pandemic. They have nothing to do with the school district or the school. It's just things are going to change. So be prepared to move that way. And then again, grace and flexibility all around.
Okay.
I would say kindness and seek clarity and take care of yourself for all.
Okay. Carol, you have anything you want to say?
I did say my encouragement. However, I will also add, for parents to children who are doing online learning, because I know that everybody is starting. Just remember that not every child learns on the same level, and that patience, that same patience that we have with our teachers and our administrators, that we have to have that patience and that understanding with our children, that they're not going to maybe learn at the speed that you learn, of course, because they're children, or learn at the speed of any other child. Just be patient and focus solely on the level that your child is on and how you can build them to their next level.
All right. So I want to thank each and every one of you all for being on the show. You know, one day we're going to have an audience and they're going to clap and all that good stuff. But tonight I want to personally thank each and every one of you. And I want to applaud you for being educators that care. Man, I remember growing up in school, we had those the older teachers that would just, you knew they cared. And today, to see teachers that I know care, it makes me feel good as a parent to know that there are still teachers out there that will go all the way for the kids. So we did the drawing, guys. We have a winner, and what they will win is free tutoring session with Shamika Preston. She's one of the best teachers I know, y'all. She's basically taught all my kids and teaching my kids and all of that now. So this is an excellent prize. Like I say, it's going to help you and it will help the kid. And so the winner of that prize is Brittany Robertson. She will receive a free tutoring from Shamika Preston. Right. And so that's all we have. Before we go, I would like to pray, and then we're going to get on off of here. So let's pray. Dear God, we come tonight thanking you for each and every panelist, God. God, right now in this time of uncertainty, God, we ask that you reign supreme, God. We ask that you be the one that puts control in all of this, that the teachers will be able to do their jobs effectively and the children will be able to learn effectively, God. God, we ask right now that you would cover and protect, even in this pandemic, God, from any disease or any hurt or any sickness, God, that everyone will be able to push and be there for their families and be able to do what they do effectively. God, we thank you for every person that's online today, God. We ask for your choice blessings over their lives. God, we honor you, we bless you, and give your name all the glory and praise. It is these and many of the blessings in your darling son, Jesus' name. Amen. All right, guys, that's our show for tonight. Remember, meet us right back here, same time, same channel for real life conversations. And I'm going to leave you with this. We set the standard everywhere we go. Good night.
Amen. Amen. Good night.